Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time popping by. Today we are doing the next in my collection and declutter series, and we're going to be looking at all of my modern, and I also have a couple of naughty decks, so I'm going to show those kind of. I'll show what I can from those as well in this collection. But otherwise, we're going to be looking at my modern tarot and oracle, and I'm going to be just going through them, talking about them a little bit, and sort of trying to make decisions about what is staying in my collection and what may be needing to be put into purgatory or moved on. So if that is of interest to you, then just keep watching. But first, hello, if you're new here, my name is Lisa. I am a tarot deck creator, a author, a content creator here obviously on YouTube, and I will throw an infographic, I guess you could call it, up on the screen to show you where you can find my current things that I have produced. I'm very excited about everything and always have links to that sort of stuff down below. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. And I'm just going to go tarot then oracle because I've sort of pulled them off my shelf that way, and we will just talk about it. Alrighty, so first up, I have the Bonefire Tarot. Oh, this is such a favorite. This one is actually the indie edition of this deck. I should really put the card. I should really put this somewhere else, but I don't really know where to put it, so it just stays here for now. Anyways, I really love this deck. The Bonefire is a longtime favorite. This is what the backs look like. This is by Gabby Angus West. I really love this indie first edition. This was actually sent to me and I'm so freaking grateful. I had the first mass market edition. I've seen the second mass market edition. I do still have the first mass market edition guidebook, and I think actually my first edition is just in storage. I don't think I got rid of it. But I love this first edition for how lovely and matte it is. Let me just zoom us in a bit so you can see it better. But I happen to really love this deck for romance readings, and in particular, it's really good for, well, it's good for romance or relationship readings at any stage, but I find it especially good for relationships where the questions are more charged, where the situation is more complicated. This is really great for also people in like the dating stage, I find. And it's just something that I gravitated toward because I found that it did a really great job of helping me to see like the peopling of things. But this is very safe in my collection. And actually, I'm going to break my own rule. I know I said I was going to do tarot and then oracle, but I do have a little oracle deck that lives with this. And it is the indie edition of The Weird of Sarah Howard. And these are like basically a matched set for me. This deck did come back out in another version. It's like the same artwork, but it was redone with the titles that Gabby originally envisioned for this deck. I happen to really prefer the first edition titles, and this deck is really difficult to get, but together these decks work really well. This has a whole mood and vibe, but the keywords or titles on here just works really well, and I never hesitate to use these as a just as a set, as like a pair. So these are both very safe. But yeah, The Weird of Sarah Howard is definitely a really unique oracle. There's nothing else out there that's quite like this. But of course, I love Gabby's art style to begin with. She has put out some other things that others are just absolutely enamored with, such as her Frida Kahlo deck. I forget the name of that one. And I think she has another one that she either did or was working on, but I think it was not colorful. I think that one was like more of a like monochromatic kind of moment, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So anyways, short story long, these are both safe. And it was actually a situation where like I literally was like asking Peggy to pretty please make me a matching bag. So they are in a matching bag. They literally hang on the rack together as like a set. So those ones are safe. This one, I'm on the fence about this one. Okay, so this is the Good Karma Tarot. It's a great deck. I just never happen to reach for it, but it's actually really great. I recommend this deck all the time. I think the guidebook for this is really wonderful. I love the colors. I love the modern look to people. I like that the art is a little bit like flat just because I kind of like that style personally. It feels very relatable. It feels like it's very much set in the modern day. People have tattoos. Like, I love that. Like, that's fabulous. I don't 100% know if I can bring myself to let this go. I've always loved this Temperance card so much for multiple reasons, but most of which because seeing a masculine woman or a butch woman in a card deck is not a very common thing, and I tend to get very attached to the decks that have that. Love this Page of Wands with the cooking. I find this just a really excellent beginner deck. It's probably one of my top recommendations for a good mass market pick. I don't know. I feel like this is one that I would actually probably miss if I didn't have, but I also don't reach for it often, and it really competes directly with something else in my collection. So let me just, like, that's so great. It just feels like these are real people, and that's a vibe that I really love. There's a lot of things it does very, very well. I love that Nine of Cups too. Oh goodness. You know, yeah, I really like this. This might have to stay. I don't know. It's so fun and colorful. I love that Death card also. It's so great. So anyways, that is the Good Karma Tarot. The guidebook is also really nice. The cardstock is nothing super spectacular. It's very, very glossy, but I don't know. I really like it. And like, I just really like it. So I don't know. I'll probably keep this. I mean, how many, like, we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to put this in the maybes, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep it. This is the Cosmic Cycles Tarot. I slept on this for a long time, and I also really, really love this. And it's funny because between this and Cosmic Cycles, I'm probably more bonded to, or sorry, between this and Good Karma, I'm probably more bonded to Good Karma because I've just had it longer. But I feel like this one and Good Karma do serve a very similar function. I really like the storytelling in this deck. I love this. This cardstock's lovely. It's a really nice high quality cardstock. It's got a little bit of a rose petal finish. Oh, this Lover's card just does things to me. I really feel like, it's so funny when I see this, I often think, initially I think Seven of Swords because he almost looks like he's up to no good. But then I see the way that he's sort of holding his position despite this onslaught of like paparazzi or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that actually works really well for Seven of Wands. I love so much about what this deck is doing. And again, there is a lot of storytelling happening through here. I love this Hierophant also, just showing the different spiritual paths. There's a lot of really cool things happening in here, and I used this in member readings just to see how it would go, and I remembered it functioned very well. It works really well just out of the box. Like, look at how sweet. But there is some additional connections between the characters you find on the cards, and when you, one of the best Ten of Swords ever, with all of these, like, negative messages just kind of, like, stabbing into her. I mean, really lots of emotion, very relatable. Like this one. This is grief, the Five of Cups, but the little ghosty of his dog and the ghosty of his dad are both right there, like next to him. It's amazing. So there's this Two of Swords. Yeah, it's really good. It's very, very, very good. I would say this one's definitely a more intense deck. This one is a lot lighter in mood. This one has a lot more intense themes, but I think that's great, actually. So these are really good. Okay, let's talk about the Fountain Tarot, because I'm wondering, this is such a moment for me, because I remember one of the first series I ever did on this channel that had to do with like this kind of a thing where I was like showing all my decks was a series, my very first magnetic lay flat box. It was a series where I called it Tarot Knockouts. And basically I just took all my decks and put them in a big pile on my bed, and I would reach behind myself and just grab two random decks and like pit them against each other. I really want to do a modern version of that in my collection now. Where only one can like survive. It's only an exercise. It's not meant to be for real. But when I did that exercise back in like, I don't know, 2018 or 2019, when I first, like early in my channel, this was the deck that ended up winning. Like it was like a tournament style. And the thing about this, I don't think actually, I was thinking just now, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, am I ready to let this go? Is this like a season thing? But here's the situation. This deck was fully oil painted. I'm pretty sure it was oil paintings. And it's really objectively beautiful. There are decks that, sure, I think of to reach for more. But this one, despite the fact that it goes its own way in some places and it does some really different things, and it can feel a little bit, I love that Seven of Swords so much, though. That's always been one of my favorites. Sometimes it's not like the easiest, cleanest reader. There's usually a little bit of something extra going on in the cards, but it's pretty spectacular when you think about the amount of artwork that went into making this one happen. And for a mass market deck, the production value was just incredible. Like this was the first time I'd ever experienced a deck with this like open up flat box, and this obviously had an impact on me because that's ultimately the box design I ended up falling in love with for my own stuff. But Like, I love this Six of Swords too. I love the fact that they're this has become like a launching, I forget what you call that, like almost like a launch pad in a way, like a boat launch, but it's the baggage. It's like the Six Swords are the thing launching you forward. I don't know. I have like lots of feelings when I look at these cards. That's the crowd surfing card. Yeah, I think I thought that I was maybe ready to let this go, but I'm super not. It is very art. It's beautiful art. It's beautiful art. This is the kind of thing that feels like indie, but I got it mass market. Like, even the book has like a linen type cover on it. It's actually just a beautiful deck. I really should reach for it more. And part of that is just like over time, you just kind of I get used to what I have, and I tend to reach for the same things over and over again. I thought I might be ready to let this go, but I don't believe that I am. So this one's safe. It's definitely a classic in my collection. Okay, let's take a look at the Ink Witch Tarot. This is by Eric Maley. I love Eric's art style, but the thing is, I have so many thoughts. There is like an expansion. Oh, these were a bunch of like ways you could customize your deck in the bottom here. I forgot about that. Oh gosh, am I gonna have a hard time? I think I'm gonna have a hard time. The tones in this are a lot softer. That Five of Swords. This is another one where I'm like, I'm sure I'm ready to let it go, right? Lisa? Oh my goodness. This is another one that I just don't reach for enough, but oh, this is the one with all the unicorns doing bad things. I remember now. Maybe I am ready to let it go. I remember being just appalled that like there's a couple cards where unicorns are like very aggressive, which like that's fine. They absolutely can be. It's not that I don't think that they can be. This reminds me of like a fire watchtower. I think that's what it's meant to be, but I loved the customization. There's a lot going on here. There's something about these soft tones though, much like the Fountain Tarot, decks that are this pale and soft, I don't tend to reach for very often unless I'm looking for a particular energy. And when I'm looking for that energy where it's kind of soothing and calming kind of thing, I tend to think of the White Sage Tarot instead. I think actually the customization in this was so cool though, with the expansion and like being able to switch it up. I think this one I might be ready to Purgatory and just see how I feel. My favorite Eric Maley deck to date is still the True Sight Oracle. I love that deck so much, but I talked about that in my gaming decks category. I think I'm going to consider Purgatory this. This one's safe. I'm trying to make piles. Okay, so this is Purgatory. This is maybe. I'm still thinking about the Good Karma to see where that's going to sit. Okay, this actually, I covered this mini Lightseers in my mini deck collection, and I'm actually letting go of this little mini, but my full size isn't here. I left it at work by mistake. So my full size is at work because I've been doing a deck study with that. So I've been working with that deck a lot. So I just wanted to remind you all, in case you didn't know what the Lightseers Tarot looks like, but this is just a placeholder. My full-size Lightseers is safe. This little mini is going to go because I just don't see the need to have two of that particular deck. But my full size is safe. My full size is safe. Okay, I'm trying to examine all these on like their own merits, and it's challenging because I see everything in comparison to everything else. Okay, this is the Lovely Ladies Tarot by Brittany Keller. This isn't the kind of tarot that I reach for very often, but Brittany Keller actually did the artwork for the cover of Unlocking the Tarot, which is my tarot book that was published by Llewellyn last year. And she has her own tarot deck out. It has a little bit of that kind of annoying gilding wrap situation. And it's very much like a kind of up close and personal look at like kind of portrait style. It's like a portrait style tarot. But there's some really great like body diversity, and there's something very glam about this. I love all the gold foil accents. This reminds me so much of my years teaching yoga. I love just the variety of people that we see represented here. This one is always like such a mood. I just really like seeing such a variety of people. This reminds me of decks where it's kind of about empowerment and sass. There's like a fashion element, I feel like, kind of to this. It feels it's very elegant. It's very much a people-y. I feel like I'm trying to think of a good deck to compare this to, but I don't have anything else quite like this. And the other things like this, I've ended up ultimately letting go when they're just like people portraits. In fact, there's another one in my collection that's going to feel a little bit like this. I think that if I'm being so for real, I don't know that this is something I reach for or want to reach for a lot, but I love Brittany's art style. and it feels kind of fun to have a deck. I wish this wasn't the Chariot. I always say that, but I do. I wish the wheelchairs would show up just randomly elsewhere. But anyway, I love this. It feels like a fashion deck. But I think what I'm going to do with this one is I think I'm going to put this on my storage shelf. It's not really an active rotation because the tactile experience, even though it's just beautiful, with that little bit of wrapping that's happening, if you know, you know. Like you'll feel it in the shuffle. It'll kind of like clump. Yeah. Oh God, I hate that. See how it does that? Because the gilding just kind of wraps. It drives me crazy. And any deck that I've had this issue with, I tend to not physically want to work with. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put this on my storage shelf. I definitely don't want to rehome this or purgatory this because, again, there's a connection because this is the person who illustrated the cover of my book. But I really love the art and I love looking at it. But I think this is going to be a storage shelf deck for me. So I'm going to put that in my little storage pile. Okay, next up, oh boy, this is the Holy Spectrum Tarot, the Infinity Edition. Like the mirror, like there's my camera. Say hello, camera. This is so freaking shiny. Like it's so shiny. And the cardstock's kind of awful, actually. But this is the Infinity Edition. I don't know if I said that already. There's the Infinity symbol. It's the Infinity Edition. This has this very like, almost like the backs are also mirrored. This has this almost like dystopian, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little bit dystopian. I don't know how else to describe this. I feel this was such a fun deck to read with. And this was also connected to a character I used to game with. But actually, I mean, I don't have anything that quite has this vibe. I want to say cyberpunk, and I don't think that's quite right. Maybe it is. Maybe cyberpunk is right. But like objectively, this isn't my usual style. However, oh my gosh, when I first read with this deck in a member reading stream, it absolutely knocked my socks off. It was so great to read with. But I'm looking at it now and I'm like, how much of that was new deck energy? You know, like new relationship energy. There's a lot going on here, but this is not my normal aesthetic. And as such, it's a deck I don't think to want to reach for very often. I've always been drawn to the really like almost neon 80s, 90s, late 80s, early 90s, I would say, coloration that shows up throughout this deck. It's very, very different. There's some cool intuitive things happening here, but I do wonder if I hadn't like assigned this to a character that I played in a game, if I would have been as attached. And now that I'm looking at it and thinking about that, I think this is one, especially because it's very uncomfortable to shuffle. I think this is one I could probably, yeah, I could probably purgatory. It is so fun, but it does hurt to shuffle. It's got a bow like this away. Like you can see it kind of curves like out. And for some reason, there's a thing about that makes it extra hard. You have to almost like snap past that spot in order to get a riffle in. It's cool, but my time with it might be past. I think I'm going to give myself permission to purgatory this, and I will decide later. I don't want to be in a big hurry on this one, for sure. It's in a mirrory bag, too, even. But I think that's going to go in the rehome pile. I'm trying to think where my piles are here. Okay. The textured tarot. I have so many feels about this. I was so excited when I found out the creator was doing a new edition, but the new edition is like, it's really different. Now, some people have said that they have a version of this that is not this really stiff cardstock. And I think it was like her second edition. And I also heard a rumor that she was thinking about maybe putting this deck out in a different cardstock in the future. I don't know, though, how I feel. I'm looking at this and there's so many things I love about this first edition, and I certainly prefer it over the new deck. See, I love this. I love that it's just a Queen of Cups, just a regular card. I love this, but I haven't reached for this in a long time, and I think at this point, I spent a lot of time revisiting this when I did a side-by-side comparison with the new texture, and you can find that video on my channel. I'll try to remember to link it down below for you. But there's things I love about this deck. I don't and haven't reached for it for a long time, and I think simply, again, as my hands get less tolerant of shuffling situations, it's great for hand over hand, this very stiff version of the deck. But I think I'm at the point, I did edge mine myself. This is my marker that I put on the edges. It was a white edged deck before, but I think I am going to purgatory this. I'm definitely not ready to like let this go. I think of the piles that I have here. Let me think. Yeah, I think I'm going to purgatory that one. I'm just not reaching for it, and I know a lot of that is a tactile experience, and I'm not sure if it's just because I'm over it or if because the shuffle just frustrates me. Okay. Next up, my tried and true. This is my Desert Island deck. I have a couple versions of this. Somebody sent me a backup version, which I have still not cracked into. Like it's unsealed. It has the pearled edges, which I just love. But this deck has been to hell and back with me. This is my personal Rider-Waite-Smith. See, again, we just have a King of Swords. I love that. It's just a great, mostly Rider-Waite-Smith style clone in a way. It follows the composition of Rider-Waite-Smith most of the time. And yet it feels like regular people. I love this art style. I love the gradient backgrounds. There's so many things I just genuinely love about this. To me, this came out around the same time, like give or take, like not at the exact same time or anything like that, but around the same time as the Modern Witch Tarot had come out. The indie version of this deck had come out. This Might Hurt. And I fell in love with this because I had Modern Witch, but Modern Witch didn't really have a good balance energetically between masculine and feminine energies. And this one does, I feel, especially comparatively. And it's very thoughtful about its choices, and the write-ups in the cards I find in the guidebook are very well done. I love these knights. Like our motorcycle knights. They're so great. I'm trying to remember if, yeah, all of our knights are motorcycles. I don't know. It's fun. But this one is probably the first like sort of Rider-Waite-Smith style deck that felt like it reflected the modern world, but I think I love that Two of Cups. I genuinely I love this deck so well. Yeah, there's our Knight of Pentacles. It's great. It's fabulous. Don't love the Three of Swords, but that's fine. I also have a mass market version of this that I just have in storage, but I've unlocked it. I matched it up with my unlocking the tarot keywords and like play with it that way. But this is my like go-to if I want to do like if I want like a classic deck, I just want to throw down a reading and have it work for anything. This is the one that I reach for. And so this one has become my Desert Island deck. Now, every deck is kind of trumped by my own deck. And I know that sounds really weird, but like there are times where I used to reach for This Might Hurt because I knew I could read it in any scenario, that I now reach for Unicorn's Journey Tarot because I built that deck. I created that deck. I know that deck inside and out. And so that's kind of become, I guess, my Desert Island deck. But before I made my own, this was the closest I could get to that scenario. So, I mean, I can use UJT, my own deck, to read in any scenario, but it's my own. And therefore, sometimes, like when I'm reading for myself especially, or if I want a greater sense of distance between myself and the reading, then using UJT isn't always the best choice. Like if I'm worried my own bias is going to be in there, UJT gives me, I know it too well. It's like I'm too close to it sometimes. So this is really still maintains one of my favorite tarot decks of all time. And like I said, I have 3 versions of this, just like I do of my Mons Tarot, so you know I love it. It's a tried and true for sure. Now this one gave gave This Might Hurt Tarot run for its money. I always forget the name of this. Unfolding Path. I literally had to look it up every time I forget. This is objectively just a really beautiful deck. I feel like this ends up sitting in the same space in my brain as Lightseers Tarot and This Might Hurt and Good Karma. My attraction initially to this was that it felt like it had a broader age range than decks like Lightseers Tarot, and so it kind of replaced Lightseers in my brain for a while. Having spent a couple of months deep diving and studying Lightseers Tarot, though, I can say this. While both of these decks, this one and Lightseers, do a wonderful job of bringing in lots of emotion and lots of human experience, Lightseers goes even further, in my opinion, further than most decks, I would say, at just every single thing on the card having symbology and intention. And this does too. But this one is more of a portraiture vibe, kind of like that Lovely Ladies tarot. There's more going on, but as you can see, it's mostly just we're looking at people in scenarios. I don't know how to describe this, but it feels more close up, more like portraits taken, like they were posing for these, not this one obviously, but a lot of these look like they were just posing for these photos or for these artworks, if that makes sense. And for some reason, I have just never bonded with this. I love the age range. I love that we get some older people in this, which was one of the reasons why I preferred it, like I said, for a long time. But at the end of the day, I would rather work with Lightseers, only because, I love that Page of Cups though, he is a favorite. Only because it's just, I know Lightseers better, I understand the symbology better. Like I love that Queen of Cups. I love that there's more people-y diversity in this, in the sense of like different age ranges, different shapes and sizes of people, and that makes it really lovely. But I just don't find myself thinking of this deck or wanting to reach for it beyond those others. And I feel like I've got too many decks sort of slotting into the same spot. So I think I am going to Purgatory this one, which is a little challenging because I do really like it. I'm definitely not in a rush to let any of these go. Again, just to reiterate that a million times. Okay. So now we're going to get into my, I guess, modern Oracle decks, of which there are only a few. And then we'll talk about my naughty decks. Is there really only 3? Do I really only have 3 modern Oracles? I had 4 because I had the Weird of Sarah Howard. I guess my other oracles just fall into other categories. Okay, so first off, and I think this category just manages to do a good job of pairing well with these other decks, but I have, you'd have to pry this out of my cold dead hands. I love this deck so much. This is the Connected and Free Alchemist Oracle, and it does really pair well with lots of things. Obviously, it pairs beautifully with the one I just showed, the Unfolding Path, but this also goes great with the Lightseers Tarot. I like pairing this with any modern deck. There's just something it just does well. It's a little bit modern, as you can tell by the clothing or the settings or whatever, what's in the cards, but it's not crazy modern. You know, it feels like these images are of this time, but there's a lot of outdoors. There's a lot of symbols. There's a lot of like little nature things. I love that the chakras are in here because it gives me a lot to work with. And I really enjoy these keywords. I love this artwork. I just love this. I love this. This scratches a lot of the itch for decks like the Wild Unknown, but this is, I think, just better. I just like it much more. It's out of print. I think there is another language version you can get, like maybe a French version or something. If you look around on like Amazon France, you might be able to find that. I just really love this. I just really love it. And it just happens to be a great pair for, like I said, a lot of my more modern decks. So that one is safe as an oracle. This next one, okay, so I'm using this in my envelope readings this year, and I'm trying to see this as can match up to just about anything, but also has an aspect of kind of color magic with it, I guess. So here's the premise with this, is that you have a colored background, and as you can see, there's just so many different colored backgrounds. So compared to decks like, say, the Color Mage, this one has lots of color. Every card is a different shade. Even the ones that look similar are different. Like these two, they're not identical. These are not all the same color. Even these two, Intuition and Discernment, these are not, they're pretty close, but they're not exactly the same. So you have this like color element, but then you have this like dictionary, literal dictionary element. So you have the word, you have its pronunciation, and then you have some different interpretations of that word. And so using this as sort of a general divination deck, and like I'm missing 12 of these because I have one in every one of my monthly envelopes. To me, this has ended up filling the spot for either a color, like the decks like the Color Mage, basically. This has sort of filled that spot for. I could use it as a color deck by just ignoring the words and like selecting a color palette, which is something I can play with Color Mage. I love words. I love the definitions of words. If you've read Unlocking the Tarot, you know that deck, or that book rather, involved me literally writing my own definition for every word where I share a definition because that's important. So I shared my own definition for every word, like keyword that I shared in there. None of those are just like copy and pasted out of a dictionary. And so I have a lot of affinity. I spent a lot of time in a giant thesaurus. I just really enjoy words. So I want to spend more time with this, and it sat on the shelf for a long time because I had received a copy that had a bunch of like messed up cards, and I had it just sort of got tabled because the creator had mentioned sending me a replacement, and then it just kind of got forgotten. And a while later they followed up and made sure I got my replacement, and I now have it and I'm working with it, but it did sit for a long time. But even the guidebook has more like of these definitions. There's just a lot of stuff you can play with something like this. So it feels very versatile, and it's just colored backgrounds with words. It's both modern, but doesn't necessarily have to be modern. But I feel like you can just pair this with just about anything, and it will definitely match up with modern decks. So this one is also safe. Okay, this last one I feel like might actually end up being useful in my, I forgot all about this actually, but I feel like this might end up being really useful in my solo role-playing games. This is called the Story Oracle. It's a creative writing inspiration deck, which I think could be perfect for role-playing games. So I think I might keep it for that purpose, especially because that's kind of what it talks about in here. I initially got this to match up with decks that I felt like this graphical style would work well next to. So for example, I thought it might go well next to like, let's just check real quick. I thought it might go well next to decks like the Cracked Amethyst Tarot. Let's just take a quick look. But I don't think, like, I think it could work, but like I don't love it. So I'm not gonna like worry about it for that. As far as a divination tool, I never think about this deck, never. So if it was just for divination, I think I would consider letting it go. But I think what I'm actually gonna do is it is actually really great as a creative prompt deck. And so I think when I'm playing solo role-playing games, particularly journaling ones, where I want something to kind of randomize events that are happening, being able to pull these kinds of cards, like Masterminds, the Worst, Mischief, Authority Figure, Rebirth, Reversal. I mean, this really is great from a creative writing perspective. So I think I'm gonna actually pull this out of like my divination section, like take it out of its bag, and I'm gonna actually put it with my solo role-playing game stuff, because when you pull the cards, there's even like stuff in here that gives you more of a divination message, but it also says, like, for example, so Mastermind, the one pulling the strings, the power behind the curtain, the great architect, all-knowing, the brains of the operation, the designer of intricate plans, having a finger in all the pies, a visionary and manipulator. But then if you get other ones like great depths, a profound event or person, like I feel like it's so easy to use this in creative writing. It's really fun and unique that way. It would make just a great general oracle, and I have used it that way. I just never think of it that way. So I think this needs to go with my gameplay type stuff, and I need to see it in that category as opposed to like a divination item, and I think that's going to help me get more use out of it. So let me revisit my maybe in light of this. Okay, so for oracles, I basically just have diviner definitions and my Alchemist, Connected and Free, Inner Alchemist Oracle. So the oracles are fine. For tarots, I really have Fountain, Cosmic Cycles, This Might Hurt, and with that in mind, I think I feel pretty good keeping Good Karma. So these three feel very similar. Fountain Tarot kind of feels like it's definitely in a different category in a way, but these are all like modern decks. So these are all staying. And then revisiting these, Am I Still Happy? So Infinity, Holy Spectrum, the Ink Witch, the Unfolding Path, and Texture. These are going to go into Purgatory. And I will report back at a later date how that ended up working out. All right, let's take a quick peek at my naughty decks. Like I said, there are only 2, and I have to be careful how I show them, but these are my naughty decks, my adult decks. So if you want to do naughty readings kind of thing. So the first one of these is literally called the Erotic Tarot Intimate Intuition, is I believe what it's called. It is a pip deck, but there are some naughty cards. So we have Shells for the Cups. Here's the Wheel of Fortune. They're playing Spin the Bottle. We have Roses for the Pentacles, as I recall. This one's pretty tame. That one's fine. The Sun, more candles. Some of these are quite naughty, but you can see the art style, hopefully. Here's our Queen of Candles. Feathers for Swords. Here's our King of Roses. A lot of these I can't show. What I like about it is that it's not crazy. It's not really racy. It's definitely much more tasteful than a lot of these. I know I'm showing you mostly pips, but here we are. I can show you that. That's the Knight of Shells. Love the Queen of Feathers. I think she's fabulous. Trying to find some non-pips that are also not too terrible. There's our Strength card, Chariot card. So it feels just quite diverse in the types of people and relationships that it shows, which is something I happen to really enjoy. I think it's really well done that way. Knight of Roses, Eight of Roses. But yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun. And the write-ups in the deck actually do talk about topics related to the subject matter, which I think is really great. Plus, it's in my panty bag. How fun is that? So yeah, this is my main, I would say. If I want to do readings on that subject, this is the one. This is the one. This one goes a little bit further in a different direction. Oh, look, the box is so like discreet and nondescript. But this is the, I think everything is safe on this. This is the Naughty Fluff Kinky Tarot. I'm going to pull it off camera so I can see what I can show you. There was only like 50 copies of this printed. I have not really used it. I just needed to get it because it's super cute. It's like kink culture, but like also is really a cute art style, as you can see. So that's our Fool. That's our Magician. So far, so good. Here's our High Priestess. And then we start getting into, like I can show this. There's our Lovers card. It shows a collaring. And then we have a lot of bits showing. So I'm trying to behave here. Some of these go in a direction that I would never go. So I don't even know if I'll use this very much, but it definitely, like there's Judgment. It's really kind of sweet. The Ace of Wands. It is not pippish. We're very scenic through the minors. Sometimes the minors I feel like make sense. Sometimes less so. Like I'm not quite sure I get the whole Five of Wands in this one. So I had to. I really liked the art style, and I liked that it was a little bit subversive. It does have really pretty red metallic borders. Oh, I forgot there's like some extra like little sigil-y cards in the back that are double-sided. I'll put those underneath. That's what the backs look like. But yeah, it's neat. Plus there is like some color coding. So you have this blue color for the coins. I don't really like the color matching concept, but you have blue for the coins. You have this red color for the swords, this light blue color for the cups, and then this like peachy color for the wands, and then the mages are kind of all a whole bunch of colors. So it's fun. It's fun. I think I'm probably going to actually take this from hanging up because it doesn't need to take up wall space. I don't see myself using it very much. I'm going to put this is more of like a collector's item, I would say, for me. I think I'm just going to put this in storage on my storage shelf and not like in my active rotation like wall space area. I don't really put that many things on my storage shelf, but having a few things I want to keep but don't necessarily want to use it's just good discernment on my part. But this one I actually do use fairly regularly. So that wraps up my modern and naughty decks. Thank you for hanging out with me for this. I really appreciate it. And as always, extra big thank you goes out to my Unicorn Fam channel members. Thank you so much for all of your support, tangible and otherwise, for the work that I do. It really makes such a difference. To everybody watching, do be sure and like, comment, subscribe, do all those like YouTube-y things, hit the little bell. And until next time, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye.